Evening. Hello. Good evening, everybody from Nigeria. Welcome to yet another educative and very exciting episode of Ask the Pediatrician's Life. My name is Ifeyinwa Phillips, and I'm going to be your moderator for today's show. So it is World Breastfeeding Week, and we are celebrating breastfeeding. Thank you, everybody, for joining. If you're joining us, invite your friends, invite your family to also be part of this show. So this year's 2021 theme says protect breastfeeding, a shared responsibility. That means it is our responsibility, you and I, to protect breastfeeding, to make sure that children get are exclusively breastfed in the first 6 months and in the 2 years of their life as recommended by WHO. So welcome to today's show. If you're joining us, drop your greetings on the comment section and we'll see it and we'll welcome you to the show. So today we are going to be having an overview of the breastfeeding week, the 2021 breastfeeding week, and we are going to be answering questions, all your questions. So with me today to give an overview of the this year's breastfeeding week and answer all your questions is none other than our CEO, Dr. Gbemisola Boyede. You're welcome to the show, ma.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to ATP Live from wherever you are watching me. I can see you on Facebook. I can see you on Instagram. I can see you. I'm not sure I can see anybody on YouTube. Yeah. All right. So welcome to ATP Live. Normally we have ATP Live every Monday, but today is a little bit special because it is breastfeeding week. And yes, I know you all know that I like to talk about breastfeeding, but today I'm going to talk only about breastfeeding and breastfeeding and breastfeeding. So we're talking about every 1st of August to the 7th of August every year is a week dedicated to celebrating breastfeeding, to promoting breastfeeding, and we talk breastfeeding, its benefits, and why you need to exclusively breastfeed your children. And so ATP as a foremost organization committed to the well-being of our children, we fully 100% support breastfeeding. We promote breastfeeding, and we are for everything breastfeeding. And we have a whole lot of activities lined up for this whole week. And since yesterday, if you're on our Facebook group, on our Instagram, and you can see there's a lot of noise, a lot of things going on, and all about breastfeeding. There are breastfeeding videos being watched. People are celebrating our EBF babies. People are telling their breastfeeding stories. So you are welcome to be part of this promotion of breastfeeding. And today, Ask the Pediatrician, we're also about advocacy, because just like the theme of this year's breastfeeding week, is a breastfeeding protection. It's a shared responsibility. It's your responsibility. It's my responsibility. It's the responsibility of the Nigerian government. It's the responsibility of our state governors to protect breastfeeding. And that's why we are also doing a lot of advocacy. We are demanding, we are petitioning all our state governors to make sure that they give all working mothers 6 months maternity leave, so that they can be able to exclusively breastfeed their children. Because one of the reasons most of you who would like to breastfeed don't breastfeed exclusively is because you don't have the time to do it, because you want to go back to work. And so we want our government to make sure that mothers have that 6 months so that they can exclusively breastfeed their children. And I'm going to tell you why it's so important if we want our child mortality rate to go down in Nigeria. So today, all you're going to hear is about breastfeeding. And if you have seen our petition on change.org, please sign it. Please tag all the governors And I want to give a special shout out to all the governors who are already implementing that. So
Yeah.
special shout out to Lagos State government for giving 6 months. They were the very first to do it. We appreciate you. Thank you for protecting breastfeeding. Also, a shout out to Cardinal State government also for protecting breastfeeding. They give the mothers in the state 6 months of maternity leave so that they can exclusively breastfeed. And shout out to Ekiti State government for also protecting breastfeeding. It's a third state in Nigeria that is giving 6 months maternity leave to the mothers so that they can exclusively breastfeed their children. Now, if you have not mentioned your governor, you need to petition your governor to also add. So we've already started,
I
we've
think
already created a petition for
Ondo
Abia State,
State
for
too.
Adamawa State, for Akwa Ibom State. We're still going to do more. And so when you see the one for your state, make sure you promote it, make sure you tag the governor because it is a shared responsibility when it comes to protecting breastfeeding. And I'm going to tell you why it's so important that we all protect breastfeeding. The pediatricians, the mothers, the government, all of us, it's our joint responsibility to promote breastfeeding. So welcome, welcome. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk to you about breastfeeding. I know you've heard about it, but some of you don't understand how important it is, and sometimes you don't understand why we talk so much about breastfeeding. And sometimes some mothers feel like, oh, Dr. Gbemi, you talk so much about breastfeeding, you make those of us who didn't exclusively breastfeed our baby to feel so bad. No, the goal is not to make anybody feel bad. And the goal is not to make anybody feel guilty. The goal is to make you know the importance of breastfeeding, and we are committed to protecting breastfeeding, and we are committed to promoting breastfeeding. And some people say, why don't you talk about other feeding as well? Like, no, I'm committed to promoting breastfeeding, and that's what we talk about because it's a choice. And then that is what we do. So just like you have a choice what you want to do, but we also have a choice of what we promote. And we on Protecting Foundation, we choose to promote breastfeeding, and that is what we are going to talk about. So it's breastfeeding week. So don't worry, you're going to get too much knowledge about breastfeeding, and at the end of the day, you will know why it is so important. So welcome. So before we go into the question and answer, if you have any questions about breastfeeding, okay, let me first tell you about all that we have in store for you this week. Because obviously, I'm not going to tell you everything about breastfeeding in 1 hour, but it's a full week. So today, I'm going to give the overview about protecting breastfeeding, why it's so important for us to protect breastfeeding, why it's so important for us to breastfeed our babies. I'm going to talk about that from a pediatrician's perspective. Tomorrow, one of our nurses, and who is also a lactation expert, who is also into pediatric nutrition, she's going to talk to you about breastfeeding myths. So she's going to be live. And so she's a now she has experience as a lactation consultant. So she's going to be here and she's going to talk about what are the myths. Because I found out that the reason most people don't breastfeed is because a lot of people have told them stories and told them it's not possible. If you see how many people tell me these stories all the time, like my mother-in-law, my mom told me it's not possible for me to, my baby is not going to be full, my baby is not going to be, my baby is going to be hungry. And some of them, because they are part of ACP and we are also supporting them and pushing them and giving them all the right push, they were surprised they could do it. I've seen people breastfeed exclusively their twins, and they were surprised they could do it. So the nurse, I'm not going to preempt her story, she's talk. So she's going to come tomorrow and talk to you about all those things. So just come and ask all your questions about all the breastfeeding things they've told you that you can do it, and she's going to help you understand why you can do it. And then on Wednesday, we'll continue to spotlight. So we're going to spotlight all the breastfeeding stories. People have been sharing their breastfeeding story. We're also celebrating all the EBS babies. So we continue with that. On Thursday is our breastfeeding quiz and a lot of prizes for you to be won. And also, let me just let you know that if you share your breastfeeding stories with us with the hashtag HTB Breastfeeding Week 2021 on our Facebook group, you are going to enter into a raffle draw and you're going to win some prizes on Saturday. But on Thursday is our breastfeeding quiz. We do it every year, our annual breastfeeding quiz. So if you want to win, you know a lot about breastfeeding, come and join us and you win. The first prize is 25,000 naira, I think. And I think there's 15,000 naira and there's 10,000 naira.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, then on Friday, we also have another one for our lactation expert, and she's going to be talking about what are those difficulties. We are not saying that breastfeeding is a walk in the park. Yes, breastfeeding needs to be supported. You may need a lot of support. Unfortunately, we don't have many people pushing and supporting mothers breastfeeding. So any little difficulty, the naysayers are usually more, and then they quickly just run you off the road into going for formula feeding and all that. So the nurse is going to be here, and she's going to talk to you about what are the difficulties with breastfeeding that you may face and how to handle it. Very easy, PC, and she's going to address that. And on Saturday, we are going to, which is the last day for the breastfeeding week. We're still going to have an open house on breastfeeding. Ask any question, drop any comments, and we address it. And of course, we're going to have a raffle draw for those who have shared their breastfeeding stories. And of course, our petition continues. We're going to petition all the state governments, that all the state governors that have not yet implemented 6 months maternity leave, including the secretary of the federal government of Nigeria, because even the federal government is not yet doing that, and we need to petition them to do that, because we all must protect breastfeeding. So these are the things we are going to be doing. We want you to sign the petition. We're going to make a lot of noise about it. So it is so important that you join us to celebrate our breastfeeding week. It's a very important week to us on ACP every year. So thank you so much for joining us. All right, I'm so excited. You can see I like to talk about breastfeeding. Okay, so why breastfeeding? Why is it so important? Okay, let me first define breastfeeding, because some people are saying maybe we should change the name because we want to be equality on gender, whatever. But I don't know. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's still breastfeeding. And so breastfeeding means feeding your baby with breast milk, that is your human milk from the breast of the mother. That is what it means. It's so simple. And but we also talk about what we call exclusive breastfeeding. Now, I need to really tell us what is exclusive breastfeeding, because a lot of mothers tell me they are doing exclusive breastfeeding, or EBF as we tend to abbreviate it. And then they tell me, oh, should I give water to EBF babies? And I'm like, oh Lord, you are not doing exclusive breastfeeding if you are giving water to your EBF baby. So when we say exclusive breastfeeding means giving breast milk only. Underline the word only. Put it in bold, underline it, make it big so that you understand. So when we say anything you give apart from breast milk, you are not doing exclusive breastfeeding. So a lot of mothers breastfeed in Nigeria, but a lot of mothers don't do exclusive breastfeeding. It will amaze you to know that the exclusive breastfeeding rate in Nigeria today is 29%, which means that only 29% of mothers actually exclusively breastfeed their babies. Despite all the noise that we make on ATP, on UNICEF, WHO, all of us, only 29% of Nigerian mothers exclusively breastfeed their children. And this is Nigeria, where we believe that we breastfeed our children. Most of us don't do exclusive breastfeeding. So exclusive breastfeeding is just breast milk, no water, nothing. If you give water, you give anything else, it is no longer exclusive breastfeeding. Now, I'm going to be giving us some points about breastfeeding. Now, when we talk about child, why are we so passionate about breastfeeding? We are passionate about breastfeeding because in ATP, our goal is about making sure that no child dies from what is preventable. In other words, we are about child survival, we are about children not dying, but yet, uh, many children are dying in Nigeria. About 1 million children die every year in Nigeria below the age of 5. 1 million children dying in this country every year below the age of 5. From what? From what we can treat, from what we can prevent. They are dying from pneumonia, they are dying from diarrhea, they are dying from malaria, they are dying from being born too early, and all the other newborn complications. Now, most of the things that kill our children, there are things that we can treat, there are things that we can prevent. And now WHO says that if we breastfeed our children exclusively, we will be saving 820,000 children every year. Every year, when we breastfeed children, that breastfeeding is one of the child survival strategies that will ensure that at least almost 800,000 children do not die. So why would we not? Why won't we be passionate about something that is so simple, that is so straightforward, and yet will save so many lives, and yet we are not practicing it, and yet our children are dying because we refuse to do something that is costing us nothing, that is so natural, and that is why we want to talk about breastfeeding, because breastfeeding is one of those child survival strategies that will ensure that those 1 million children that are dying every year in Nigeria below the age of 5 do not die. So will not die if we only can exclusively breastfeed our children, and we know why. So it is one of the most effective ways to ensure breastfeeding, immunization. Those are some of those strategies that will ensure that 1 million children below the age of 5 are not dying every year. And these things are not costing us so much. They are so straightforward, simple strategies. They are not like highfalutin things that maybe it's only those who are rich that can afford it. It is something everybody can do. So there's no reason why 1 million children should be dying when we have what we can do to protect those children, to prevent those deaths. And that is why we are so passionate about breastfeeding, because it's one of the most effective ways to ensure. So when mothers complain all the time, I can't exclusive breastfeed, I'm like, you are looking at it from your own perspective. You are looking at it from, okay, maybe it's inconveniencing me or whatever, or maybe because you are not sure you are feeding your baby. You are not looking at it from the perspective of survivor. You are not looking at it from the perspective, you are just thinking it's about putting food in your baby's stomach. No, breastfeeding is more than feeding, it's more than nutrition, it's about survivor. It's about that child not dying. So you begin to look at it that way, then you begin to understand why it is so important for you as a mom to breastfeed your baby. And that is what we're talking about. And even WHO says that only 40% of babies are breastfed all over the world. Only 40% of babies are exclusively breastfed. And this statistic is so appalling. In Nigeria, it's even 29%, which is even lower than the global figure. So we, WHO, Ask the Pediatrician Foundation, UNICEF, all of us, we want you to promote breastfeeding. We want you to know that breastfeeding is the best source. And for those of you who think you are woke and you are now modern day women, you think that, oh, breastfeeding is for the poor and the women in the village, you are so mistaken. Because breastfeeding is still the best for your baby. I don't care whether you have your baby in America, whether you have your baby in the UK, or whichever country you have your baby, your Canada. Most of you think that when you go to all those countries, then they tell you that, okay, you can just formula feed and all that. If you go to their country and you ask them properly, the best thing they know is also that you should exclusive breastfeed your children. Of course, everybody, they will give you choices. So because of that, that is why people do that. But really, they also know, and they also say it. Go to all the website and everything is still exclusive breastfeeding. So this is not something being pushed to the developing countries or to the poor countries. This is universal. This is WHO. This is UNICEF. This is everybody. All the pediatricians saying the best way to breastfeed, the best way to feed your baby is still breastfeeding. And that is why we promote it. It's the best source. And I challenge you to look at any formula can that you have. You will see that even on that formula thing, it is written there that breastfeeding is the best for your baby. So why will you go for something that is second best when you can go for the best? So go for the best, and you'll be happy you do that. So it's the best thing. And we also want to emphasize that breastfeeding exclusively for the first 6 months is so crucial. So it is not just that some people say, I breastfeed for 3 months, or I breastfeed, I give formula with it, I like to do misfeeding. No, you need to do exclusive breastfeeding. Breastfeeding and breastfeeding only. That is the most important thing for your baby, because it's going to protect your baby. And we also recommend that you start breastfeeding your baby in the first 1 hour. Now, this is where problems start. Most of you have your babies, and the nurses, apologies to all the nurses and midwives, but I want most of us to get up and understand that breastfeeding is more important than cleaning up the mother, than making the room look nice, than making the mother to rest. Every mother should have their baby put on their body. They don't need to bath. They don't need to be cleaned up. The mother should be put to their baby's skin, because there are a lot of things. The baby, if you leave that baby on the mother's tummy, the baby naturally will wiggle down and find the breast. locate the nipple, and start to suck. It is so intricate, it is so wired into the baby's body survivor. So, but what we do is we take the baby and go and put the baby in one nursery, separate the baby, and that is when the problem starts because the mom is trying to rest. And I don't care whether you have CS, you can breastfeed your baby within the first 1 hour. You can start to breastfeed your baby within the first 1 hour. So all mothers, so when you have your baby, that's the time I had my baby in the hospital, and this was even know I'm a pediatrician, and you can't believe I'm a pediatrician, and yet they took my baby away from me. And I called the guy in the college. I said, "Tell your people to bring my baby to me." And they were like, "Oh no, they are doing this." I said, "No, tell them to bring my baby." So the gynecologist said, "You don't know that you are dealing with a pediatrician. Why do you separate the baby from her? We want the baby to be with the mother. Your baby should be with you, never separated from you. That is the ideal thing." So, and you should try and initiate breastfeeding within the first 1 hour of life. Okay, I've mentioned that. Um, Okay, so I've mentioned that. Okay, so the next thing is that for your baby to have optimal growth, optimal development, optimal health, you want to exclusively breastfeed. Now, breastfeeding, if you look at those three things, it's not about filling your baby's tummy with food, it is about growth. Breastfed babies, they grow well. It's about development, the brain. So it is about the brain. It's about health. So most of the time, when you give your babies all those alternatives, they most of the time they just give food, which is about growth, but they are not going to do anything about baby's brain. They are not going to do anything about the baby's health. So this is why it is important that the only thing that will give your baby the three of them, it is breastfeeding. So your baby should be breastfed to achieve optimal growth, optimal development, and optimal health. And I've told you exclusive breastfeeding means breast milk, no water, no agbo, no formula, no glucose, no anything, no drugs, unless the child is ill and the pediatrician has prescribed it. Apart from that, it's only breast milk and breast milk only. And breastfeeding is not stopped at 6 months. Exclusive breastfeeding is for the first 6 months. After 6 months, exclusive breastfeeding is not enough. After 6 months, exclusive breastfeeding is not enough, then you need to add other food. But please keep breastfeeding. Don't reduce the breastfeeding. You need to keep breastfeeding for, you can do it for 2 years and beyond. So don't, and some people start feeling like shy when they're breastfeeding their 1 year old because somebody is telling them, "Oh, your baby is big now." Your baby is, tell them WHO pediatricians say I can breastfeed my baby for 2 years and beyond. So you can do 3, you can do 4, whatever works for you is fine, at least 2 years. Because breastfeeding, like I keep saying, is more than food. It's about protecting your baby from illnesses. Other things that you give your baby will give your baby food, but they will never protect your baby from infections. That is the truth. Those are the truths that most of us don't want to look at. You are looking at it, so your baby's tummy is full, your baby is no longer crying, but is your baby protected from cough and catarrh? Is your baby protected from diarrhea? Is your baby protected from these infections that kill babies? So all of you always complain, my baby is having cough and catarrh. Well, the first question I want to ask you, are you exclusive breastfeeding your babies? And no, giving water, giving formula. So you have the answer to your question. So you really need to understand that the breastfeeding part is also about protecting your baby from infections, illnesses. It is the ideal food, we've mentioned that, and especially in child illness like diarrhea and pneumonia. I've told you 1 million Nigerian children below the age of 5 die every year. What kills the children? Diarrhea, pneumonia. Can you imagine? Those are the things killing our children. These are things that will be protected from, the children will be protected from if they are exclusively breastfed. So that is why we promote breastfeeding, because if you promote breastfeeding, most of the children will not die from diarrhea, they will not die from pneumonia. But that's why it's so important. And also, breastfeeding is not just about the baby, it's also about you as a mom. So if you exclusively breastfeed your baby as well, you will be healthy. You yourself, number one, you lose weight. Number two, you will be able to. It's a form of family planning, even though it's not 100%. It's not 100% full pro, but at least 98%. It's good. It's high. Even condom is not 98%. So this one is good. So Of course, we encourage you to do other form of family planning, but when you breastfeed, you are kind of doing a form of family planning. So all these people that will say, I had a baby and you're already pregnant after 2 months, after 6 months, most of you are also not exclusive breastfeeding as well. Please do that. And also it protects you against ovarian cancer, against breast cancer. So women, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, those are causes of cancer in women. And it has been found that the longer you breastfeed, not just breastfeed, the longer you breastfeed, the more you are protected. So if you are not going to even breastfeed because of your baby, at least breastfeed for yourself. Protect yourself against cancer, against ovarian cancer, against breast cancer, against type 2 diabetes, against postpartum depression. So these are issues that mothers face, So if you breastfeed, you actually reduce your own risk of this. So breastfeeding is not just about the child. We pediatricians are concerned about the child survival, child health, child growth, development. But you, the mother, you're also protected. You're able to space your babies because it helps you with your family planning, and you also protect you against cancer, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, type 2 diabetes, and all that. Also, breastfeeding is the benefit of breastfeeding, which is another thing mothers mix when we talk about breastfeeding. The benefit of breastfeeding is not just when your baby is a baby in that 6 months or in that 1 year. It extends to their life as adults. So it is not just that you breastfeed your baby now, oh, your baby is eating, thank God. It is about setting that baby's life up for the future, because it has been found that babies that are breastfed as adults, they are protected against obesity, being overweight, and all that, against type 2 diabetes and all that. And obviously, babies that are breastfed have been found out from intelligence tests to do better than babies that are formula fed. So you can see that the benefit of breastfeeding is not about just filling your baby's tummy. It's about protecting them from infections, diseases, making sure that their brain development is optimal, they do better in intelligence tests, making sure even as adults, they will not have things like type 2 diabetes and obesity and all that. So breastfeeding is not just about now, it's about future. We're talking about our future. So that's why it's so important that we promote and that we encourage everybody to exclusive breastfeed. And of course, like I said, these long-term benefits, you cannot replace it with formula. That is the truth. Formula will give your babies food, they will fill their tummy, they will not be hungry, but they are not protected from infections. They are not it's not affecting their brain development. It's not going to protect them from type 2 diabetes in future. It's not going to protect you from ovarian cancer and breast cancer. So these are some of the things that we're talking about, not to talk about in the cost, the economic cost of formula feeding, which I don't even want to go into because I want to focus on breastfeeding. Because the challenge is that most of you, if you want to, when you formula feed, you need maybe most babies will eat 1 can in 2 or 3 days. So you need 4 cans, you need 2 cans in maybe a week, and maybe about 8 cans in a month. How much is 1 can? Most of you cannot afford it. So what do people do? That one thing, they stretch it, they over dilute it so that one thing can last 1 week. How much is a tin now? Most of those formula, most of them about 2,000 naira. Is it not? About 2,000 naira. Let's do a quick maths. So you do 2,000 naira, that's 4,000 naira in a week if you are really doing it properly. 4,000 in a week times 4 weeks, that's 16 weeks. That is half of a person who is earning minimum wage, which is 30,000, which we even know that most states currently are not paying minimum wage. So let's say you're even earning minimum wage, by the time you spend 16,000 naira, and I'm being conservative with my calculation, on the baby's food alone, baby is not wearing clothes, it's not, those other things, I've not buy diaper. It's very difficult. Whereas breast milk is free, you don't pay for it, it's already in your body and you have it. So why do you want to? So most babies are being stretched because they can't afford it. It's so interesting to me that it's people that can't even afford the formula that also want to do formula feeding instead of doing breastfeeding that is even so free and so cheap. So, and at the end of the baby end up being malnourished, they maybe end up having diarrhea, they may end up having other infections, and then we end up having this battle. So it's so important for us. That's why it's so important that we promote breastfeeding. And if you are not doing exclusive breastfeeding, if you don't breastfeed, breastfeeding is demand and supply. The more you breastfeed, the more the milk flows. If you don't breastfeed, then the milk will go away. And that's why all of you that always say, oh, my baby stopped breastfeeding at 6 months, my baby stopped breastfeeding at 7 months. Your baby didn't stop. You did it, because the more you don't breastfeed, your baby don't even suck. So the breast fat gets the brain gets the information like breast milk is not needed here, and then the breast milk just goes off, and then the baby suck, nothing is coming out, then the baby gets tired, and that's the end of it. Then you say, oh, my baby weaned himself at 7 months, my baby weaned himself at 6 months. We all know what happened. So when you're breastfeeding, you keep breastfeeding. Even when you start complementary feeds, don't stop breastfeeding. Complementary feeding is not to stop breastfeeding, it's not to reduce breastfeeding, it's to complement, to add on top of breastfeeding. So you keep breastfeeding the same way you were breastfeeding, and you are only adding to it. So that is why some of you will say, my baby weaned himself. It's because when you start complementary feeding, you tend to reduce consciously or unconsciously your breastfeeding, and then the baby begins to um yeah, okay, thank you. So the baby begins to, let me just round up, then we'll take all the questions and comments. All right, so finally, before I finish, some of you worried about, okay, yes, things like HIV, through breastfeeding. Okay, if I have HIV, maybe I can't breastfeed. No, even now, even with HIV, we found out that it's still the breastfeeding is still the best, even for the HIV infected mothers. So what we do is that there are drugs that will give that will reduce your chances of having breastfeeding. And some of you always say, oh, why don't you also talk about that form of feeding? Why is it only breastfeeding? Because there's what we call international code to regulate the marketing of breast milk substitutes. So you're not going to hear me talk about that form of feeding. So don't get upset about that, because we don't talk about other form of feeding because there's a code. And the code says that we don't promote formulas, we don't promote, and even when we want to talk about formula, we have to tell you about the risk that is involved with it. So you will never see health workers coming on a public forum to come and promote. So we talk about that among ourselves as professionals, because of course we know that there are some times when we need to use formula. That's why formula company needs to exist. For example, if a mother is late, or some mother is on maybe cancer, chemotherapy, drugs, those are the occasions where, of course, we have to feed the baby other way. So we have to discuss with the other professionals, how do we do it in a safe way and still keep the baby safe. And of course, we're always still looking for human milk as the first alternative. So only because of HIV these days, we are very conscious of that, and so we try not to do much of that. But we will not be talking. So if you want to use formula, most of you just use formula by yourself. Ideally, a pediatrician should prescribe it for you. You are not you on your own should not just go and buy formula and use. Most of you don't know that a formula is something that should be prescribed, just like any medication, for your baby. Because what you're supposed to do naturally is to give your baby breast milk. But if for one reason or the other there's a need to give that baby something else, a pediatrician has to do it. And there's a reason why we have to do it, which we'll talk about. So please, we don't give free samples of formula to pregnant women and all that. The people that make formula, they are aware of that. And so it's so important that we support mothers. That's why I'm so happy we are going to have those lactation experts on Tuesday and on Friday talking to you how to support you with the breastfeeding difficulties and all that. See, the more mothers, the grandmothers and the mother-in-laws, they're always after, look, just give my baby formula, because most of the time they want to have the baby, and the only time they will have the baby is when they have formula feeding. Because if you are breastfeeding, you are the only person in the world that can breastfeed your babies. And please, it's your baby. It is not, with all due respect, like the mother-in-law know, is your baby. You are the one that was pregnant for 9 months. So you have rights over your baby. You have a right to say, I don't want this, I want that. Be firm, be respectful, but be firm. It is your baby. And of course, going to work does not stop you from breastfeeding. please, because that's another excuse. Oh, I'm going to go to work, 5 weeks old, I'm going to work. Don't worry, that's why I'm doing the advocacy. That's why I'm petitioning the governors to give you 6 months. But even if when you go to work, take your baby with you. Take your baby to the crèche and then go and breastfeed during break in between. Maybe 3 hours you breastfeed, or you can express your breast milk, store it, and you can breastfeed your baby. It can be done. It's been done. People have done it, I've done it, and it can be done. So finally, only solid food is from 6 months. Please don't give pap at 3 months. Don't give it at 4 months. There's a science behind it, but I'm not going to go into that. Breast milk is only for the first 6 months. It's after 6 months. Don't be in a hurry. There's no hurry. Because when you hurry, then you still come back to the pediatrician and say, my baby is not in, so there's wahala. Just wait. When it is 6 months, then you can breastfeed your baby. So, in summary, breast is the best for your baby. So, I'm going to start taking questions now, so that we can. So, if you are, can you
Okay.
wait,
Yes,
just
ma'am.
hold on. Let me see. Do we take Instagram first? Because Instagram people are not many. I don't want them to run away. Let me start with
Okay,
Instagram,
ma'am.
and then we'll come back to Facebook. Because Facebook is plenty. Uh,
Okay.
there are not many questions on Instagram. I'm looking for them. What about federal government workers? Yes, I'm petitioning the federal government. The second, I don't know who is the decision maker when it comes to federal government staff. I think it's either the head of service or secretary of the federal government. We're going to petition all of them. They need to make it. I think federal government give 4 months now. Is that so, or is that much? What did they give now? But it needs to be 6 months. Okay, Bimbo say, I had my baby via CS a week ago in Canada.
Yes.
I told the medical team I want to breastfeed immediately. She was put on my chest for 1 hour immediately. Good. After I was switched off. Good, good. That's it. You can breastfeed your baby even with CS. All this, I have CS, the best for your baby. Don't worry. My baby is 10 months. She take other food. Yes, good, good. I'm happy to see a lot of mothers are now breastfeeding. My baby is 9 months. Can I get pregnant now? And I'm still breastfeeding. Rachel, I would say no. I would rather say we advise that you space your baby for 2 years. So which means that at least your baby should be 1 year before you start trying another pregnancy. Ideally, even it should be 2 years before the pregnant, but at least do 1 year so that by the time you're having your next baby, the gap will be 2 years. It's for your own health because you need to recover first. Babies are parasite, they will just take everything from you. Don't worry, the baby will be but you're also putting your second baby at higher risk. So we want you to space the babies properly for your own health and for the other baby coming so that the pregnancy will not be high risk. So don't worry. Yep, don't worry. Don't be in a hurry. Okay, I think that's all on Instagram. If you have questions on breastfeeding, today is about breastfeeding. If you have questions about other topics, please post this on our Facebook group. But today, let's talk breastfeeding, breastfeeding, breastfeeding.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Gbemi, for that. I've learned a lot. There are some of the things that, like the statistics that you gave about Nigeria having just 29% of
Yeah, it
EBF,
used to be
and that's
70%, but we've been, so that means all our advocacy has done some work. I'm sure the
yes.
recipients are part of the people pushing it up to the 29%.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
yes.
of course,
Lagos
ma.
National AKT, give them a big hand for doing that. We are looking for
Yeah.
all other states joining. Yeah, there's somebody from
Okay.
YouTube. Hi, Okoro Chizaram. Thank you so much. I'm happy to always see people from YouTube. All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Odemena Mwakego Uchechi. She
yeah.
says, please, ma, I need help with breastfeeding till he clocks 2, because the others are on my case, and he
Yes.
is 1 year and 8 months. What can I do or say to them?
Nothing, no. You don't need to say anything to anybody. It's your baby. So if you want to breastfeed your baby for 2 years, please, it is your breast, it is your baby. So let the elders go and sleep. Just tell them, oh, my pediatrician told me. If you want to be nice, anyway, you can tell them my pediatrician said we should breastfeed for 2 years. You can go and show them this my video, or you can go and copy and print and show them. So it is you breastfeeding, it is your breast, it is your baby. please, you don't owe anybody any explanation. That's the honest truth. But if you want to be nice, just tell them, oh, pediatrician recommends that I do it for 2 years. Please go ahead and do it. You don't need to worry yourself. All right.
Okay.
Okay,
She says, wow,
I
that's
guess you're
good.
already gotten your answer
Okay.
already.
Sylvia Godwin Okodowa. She
Good.
says, my son is 1 year, 7 months, still sucking. Till 2 months, 2 years, I am not giving up. Yeah, thumbs
Okay.
up.
Thumbs up for you, Jerry. Well
Okay, thank
done.
you, Mercy Aderoba, for watching.
Yeah,
Abimbola
Bola.
says, well done, Dr. Gbemi and Ifeyoma. Thank you too. Okay, so we have another question here. Okay, she says, Abdurraham Ramat says, I am a mother of two, eldest daughter 2 years plus now, and second, the boy is 6 months now. Both were breastfed exclusively. But to my surprise, the birth weight of the first was 2.5 kg, and she
Mm,
was 11 kg at 6 months. But
mm,
this my boy now was 3.1 kg at
mm,
birth,
mm,
but current weight at 6 months is 6.8 kg. Is that
mm.
normal at all?
It's normal. It's perfectly normal because your baby has already doubled the birth weight. Okay, this is another thing I need to address because I don't know. Mothers have this we like our babies big and chubby and all that. And really, pediatricians are actually your baby that was weighing 11 kg at 6 months is the one giving me headache. That is actually the abnormality because 11 kilos is the weight of a 1 year old. And if your baby is weighing 1 year old weight at 6 months, I would have wanted to see your baby to make sure there's no other endocrine disorder or anything. Some babies are just naturally big. Then when they start to crawl and run around, they lose those baby fats. But your boy is actually the one that is normal because you in your mind now you think the girl is the one that is normal and the boy is the one that is abnormal. But the boy is actually the one following the normal pattern, which is to double their birth weight at 6 months, which is what she's done. So your baby birth weight was 3.1, it's now 6.8, which is even slightly above the double, which is perfect. But your baby weighing 11 kilos at 6 months is too much. That's exactly the one that gives me worry. But I hope she has normalized. So we want healthy weight. Too much is actually not good as well. So we don't want baby overweight. We don't want them underweight. We want them to be just okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Maya. Facebook user, we can't see her name. She
Yeah.
says breastfeeding promotion reduces mortality from
Yes.
pneumonia. It
Yeah.
also helps mom as it's forms a part of FP, that's family planning. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. These are
Somebody
just
said, well
comments.
done, my daughter. It is a pity my phone, due to its smallness,
Don't
can't
worry.
play
Let's
the
just go
video.
on.
Okay, we are sorry about that, ma'am. Okay. Okay. Oloma Jennifer says, I exclusively breastfed my baby, but
Mm.
he suffered from pneumonia. What could be the cause?
Okay, very good question because you think, oh, that's not going to say if I exclusive breastfeed, everything will be fine. Okay, now a baby having pneumonia is due to infection, like bacterial infection. Now, breastfeeding protects your baby, but if you expose your baby, okay, like I'm looking for an analogy to give. Okay, so for example, you can't say because you have a security guard in your house, then you are going to open your doors and leave it open and let the thieves enter into your house because you have a security guard to protect you. If it's your security guard, police thieves can still enter your house if you don't take other precautions. That's the point. So breastfeeding protects your baby, but you need if you expose your baby to germs, they can still have pneumonia. So it's not like it's 100% like you because you are or it's just like saying that okay you are protected or you've taken rotavirus vaccine, then you should go and drink dirty water or drink those kind of things. You're still going to have infection. So it's the same thing. Just like even though when we are giving you COVID-19 vaccine now, they still say use your mask. Don't go to overcrowded places. Maintain social distancing. Because one thing alone, the fact that you have taken vaccine for COVID does not mean you should go and expose yourself unnecessarily. You still get infection because it is to protect you so that you don't have it. But if you don't go and put yourself in risk or harm way, so if your baby has pneumonia, there may be other reasons why the baby could have had pneumonia. For example, I want to know, is your baby being exposed to somebody who is coughing, who is having catarrh? Did you actually do exclusive breastfeeding? Okay, you said so, but when I say did you actually, no water, no other thing, because people say I exclusive breastfeed my baby, but they gave water. That is not exclusive breastfeeding. So you really need to be sure. And you're not giving any other thing else, no formula, nothing else, no any other thing else. Two, is your baby going to a creche where there are other children who have cough and cold and catarrh and they're sneezing to the baby? Are you practicing hand washing? Are you taking care of all the other things that protect your baby against those infections? So the fact that your baby is protected by breastfeeding does not mean you should expose your baby as well. So then some children have other health issues, like if it's children with heart condition and all that, they are more high risk. But majority of babies exclusive breastfeed, they will not have those infections. That is the truth. So if your baby have it, we need to start looking at what are the other risk factors that put your baby at risk of having pneumonia. So that's it. I hope my analogy makes sense. If not, you can still ask more questions. Then I can
Okay.
clarify.
Thank you, ma. Oluwatosin Yemisi says, can a mother that is not eating well still lactate? Just asking for knowledge sake.
Why not? You can, but because but you are going to be like yourself, you'll be very weak and tired and all that. So it is not even as much as the eating as the drinking. You need to drink a lot of water. You need to make sure you have fluids, you are not dehydrated. That's why some of you will say your height is stunning you, you are this, you are that. So eat well, because breastfeeding itself is, you need actually additional calories when you are, in other words, when you are breastfeeding, you actually need to eat more food, because you need like this 500 extra calories to maintain breastfeeding. So that you yourself, you maintain your own good health. So it is important that you eat well. It doesn't mean you have to eat big. There are different things. Eat well and eat too much. There are two different things. So eat normal food, healthy choices, drink lots of water. That is eating well, and you'll be able to breastfeed your baby well.
Okay. Tosin Yemisi said again, is there any nutritional composition of breast milk, irrespective of what the mother eats? Please,
Yes.
ma'am, asking for knowledge sake.
Yes, everything is an sake, we know. So that's another beautiful thing about breast milk. The breast milk of every mother is so unique to your baby. The breast milk of a mother who is breastfeeding a preterm baby, because scientists, we have done all this analysis, we found that it's different from the mother who is breastfeeding a term baby. Even for you yourself, sometimes your breast milk changes between maybe when your baby was 1 week to when your baby is. So initially the breast milk has more protein and all that, then later on more fats and all that. So it changes and it varies. So but there are some, of course, consistent thing. You have your lactose, which is the milk, the white part, the milk sugar. You also have the fats, you also have all those DHA things that help with the brain development. You also have antibodies. So all those things will still be there, but their relative ratio is what I say will be changing at different times, even from one mother to another mother. The funny thing, your baby will know your own breast milk different from another mother's breast milk. It's so unique. So there are so many beautiful things about breastfeeding. Yeah. So they are different, but we always say that you also eat sensibly. So sometimes we find that some mothers who eat too much protein, the protein level in the breast milk will be high as well, and it may affect the baby's weight gain. So some of them, the baby may gain weight too rapidly, and that may be a challenge. But most time is relatively the same composition. But I try not to go into all those technical details because I don't want to lose you guys. So let's leave that one. All right.
Okay. A Facebook user, I had my kids 3 years gap and just had the third one. I am doing breastfeeding. Hope I won't get pregnant.
Go and do family planning. Breastfeeding is 98%. So that remaining 2% means you can get pregnant. So if you are breastfeeding, do additional on top. You can do injections. You can do the tablets, the progesterone kind of tablets. You can do condom. You can do other form for, just to add as a extra layer. Some people get away with it. They don't have any babies, but some they can still get pregnant. So don't go Dr. Baby that say 100% you cannot get pregnant. You can, but it's just 98%. And there's actually no family planning that is 100%. And that means that breast milk is quite high. But we just say if you put something extra, then it becomes higher or closer to 100%, which is good. Yeah. Mm,
Okay. What happens to baby if not breastfed the first 1 hour?
mm,
Because for my last baby, I had to ask the nurse if I can take my baby and breastfeed him before she brought him to me.
mm,
And that was like after 2 to 3 hours.
mm.
The baby was sucking his tongue.
Yes, poor baby. So what could have happened to the baby? Number one, the blood sugar of that baby could have been low because we don't know how much store the baby had before you have the baby. Two, and most hospitals don't even check blood sugar. If it's a hospital with a pediatrician, most likely we will check that blood sugar. And unfortunately, blood sugar, if it is low, it can affect the brain, and that's a major challenge. But the main reason why we want you to breastfeed in the first 1 hour is to establish what we call the milk lets down. This is one reason why some mother will say 2 3 days I'm not breastfeeding, the milk is not coming out. It's because you don't put your baby to the breast. See, the breast milk has to come out. Now for breast, and most people, the mistake we also make is that I forgot to mention that is that when somebody is not lactating, instead of you to put the baby to the breast, you will also not put the baby to the breast again. You now start giving glucose, start giving water, start giving formula. Then the mother will still not breastfeed because you're actually doing the opposite of what you should do. If you don't put your baby to the breast, your milk will not flow. It is a natural, there's what we call milk leg down. It is the sucking. It is the sucking of the baby on the breast that makes the milk to flow. So all this one, I'm not no milk is coming out. It is because you're not putting. You need to put the baby to the breast, and we want to do it in that first 1 hour so that milk legs down will come, and the milk will flow. And the more the baby suck, the more the milk will flow. And when babies start sucking, they are not efficient suckers themselves, so they do small, small, and then they put them out. So you need to keep putting them to the breast. So that is why we want you to breast. It's not as if any damage is going to happen to your baby, apart from the hypoglycemia risk, which I already mentioned. But the most important thing is to make sure that the baby suck and start that process of the milk flowing. So this is why it's so important. So most people that don't breastfeed their baby in the first 1 hour, then they'll say the milk is not flowing because the milk has not been let down. So the solution is not to give formula. The solution is to put the baby to the breast. Don't worry, nothing is coming out. Let the baby suck. It doesn't matter. It is that sucking that will make the milk to flow. The milk don't flow. So people are waiting for the milk to flow so that they can breastfeed. But the milk is waiting for you to breastfeed so that it can flow. So it is very, very important that we get that equation right. So this is one of that's why we want you to
Okay.
let the baby start that process, and the baby knows how to do it. If you're not separated from your baby will find its way to the breast and suck. So that's why we say put the baby to the mother's breast or to the mother's chest, and the baby will take over from you, and that will make the breastfeeding process smoother for you. But don't
Okay.
panic, I'm sure the baby is fine.
Our time is almost up.
Yes, we
Priscilla
are.
Oweye said, my child is 1 year, 1 month, but
uh,
loves breast milk more than solid food. How can I help him eat more?
I don't think the baby has any problem. There's no problem with the baby loving breast milk more than solid food. That's normal. So the thing is that most of you want your baby to take more solid than breast milk, which is not necessarily the truth. Your 1 year old baby should eat only 3 meals a day of solids. So is the baby taking up to 3 meals a day and maybe some snacks in between? Your baby should still be taking the breast milk, which is fine. Unless you think your baby is not eating the solid at all. I really need to know what you mean. Love breast milk more than solid food. In other words, your baby is taking more breast milk than solid, which is okay. But you need to know what quantity of solid should my 1 year old be taking, and how often is your baby feeding that criteria. So if you go to our complementary feeding pathway, you will get that information, so but worry about your baby.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Let's just go straight to the
Oluwatosin Yemisi, she said, I also heard that breastfed babies. Okay, can I read this last
yeah,
one?
go on.
She said, I also heard the breastfed babies normally have average weight per time. Is that correct, ma? For example, a baby of 2.9 kg at birth and 9.8 kg at 1 year, 3 months.
Yeah, that's fine. So it is, yes, babies we will say babies usually double their birth weight at 6 months and they triple it at 1 year, which is okay. So yeah, you are right. So that's fine. But today it's not uh about weight gain and all that. So I don't want to go into that. I want us to just focus on breastfeeding, but you are right in terms of what you said. Yeah.
Okay, after winning a child, okay, that's from Angeline Dennis Agboro. After winning a child of 20 months, how long
Mm.
does it take for the breast milk to dry up, especially when the mother is pregnant again?
It should dry up immediately. It should within a few days should dry up. But if you are pregnant again, then you have created a cycle because when you are pregnant, your breast will start getting ready for another one. So, but usually it should dry up immediately. So if it's not drying up, some people have some other issue. Maybe their prolactin level is high or there are other issues. Then please see your gynecologist and they can provide some support with that.
Okay, we are almost running out of time.
We'll still finish all the
If we
questions that
don't,
have come in, and then after that,
okay,
we'll leave it. Yeah.
okay. So the next question says,
Okay, I think
okay,
Oloma
hello,
is
ma.
answering that question that she
Yes,
traveled and the baby must
yes.
have been exposed. Exactly.
The
So
baby
please,
that had pneumonia.
yeah, so the fact that your baby is getting immunization, getting some protection from breastfeeding does not mean baby should be exposed unnecessarily. Hygiene is still part of the survival strategies. Hand washing, that is why we are still saying, even in COVID, hand washing, social distancing, covering nose when you sneeze, all those hygiene proper methods still important. So don't worry. Yeah.
Okay, so well done, doctor. My baby is 10 months and we did
Go on.
EBF. Please, is it right to add formula to the pap
Yes, you can. Yes, you can add milk to the pap. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But keep breastfeeding as well. So exclusive breastfeeding is only for the first 6 months. After the first 6 months, you keep breastfeeding, but you can give other milk as part of the feeding of the baby. But you don't even have to actually. You can actually keep on just breastfeeding and giving the complementary food. So if you're happy with it, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the baby will know your
Um,
own breast milk. That is the truth. It is absolutely true because there's an hormone, there's a smell, and that is why even the way your baby recognizes you as a mother in the first few days is through your smell. It is through the smell of the breast milk, and that is why they always want to be with you because you are the food bank and they don't want you to run away. Yes.
okay. This Facebook user says my 9 months old
No, you
baby
are
is
not really old.
13.9 kg.
Sorry. Oh,
Okay,
he's
Hope
saying
say,
can a breastfeeding. Okay, go on.
can a breastfeeding mother take folic acid?
Absolutely, yes. You can keep taking the folic acid, same way you were taking it when you were pregnant. You can keep taking it when you are breastfeeding as well. Yeah, it's good.
Okay, my 9 months old baby is 13.9 kg. Some
Mm.
people say he's overweight.
Yeah,
How true is that?
that absolutely true because your 9 month old should be weighing 9 kilos. Your 13, almost 14 kilos is the weight of a 2 year old. So your 9 month old weighing 14 kilos. I am definitely worried about the baby. I will say, see one of my colleagues, see a pediatrician. Let's make sure some babies is their genetics in their family, they're always big bones, big stuff. But some people there may be some endocrine problems or whatever. So we need to be sure. Just to be sure. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with your baby, but we need to know that there's nothing wrong with your baby. I hope that makes sense. So just see one of
Okay.
our colleagues. Yeah.
Chichetaram
Mm,
Victoria DK.
mm,
I want to know why my baby's weight did not double at 6 months. At
mm,
birth, it was 3.3 kg, and I
mm.
was surprised at 6 months. It was only 6.3 kg.
It's not so
EBF.
bad now. Okay, you want it to be 6.6 and instead. So there are many reasons like are sad. Number one, maybe your baby lost weight first before the baby starts to gain weight, which is a possibility. And it's also amount of feeding you give as well. Also, some babies, if your baby has other health issues, maybe at one point your baby was ill or there's so many, so there are many reasons that could happen. So when we say your baby should double birth weight, that is just say average. Is an average, but there are, I can say, subject to terms and condition, because if there are other things that change, or maybe if you're not giving enough food, your baby was sick, there were other health issues, but 6.3, my dear, is okay. Don't worry. Don't worry. Just keep feeding the baby. Start complementary feeding now. I know that many mothers always say, I don't like this, I don't like that. But I always say that you don't have to like it, but it is fine. As far as the pediatrician is happy, then that's fine. Don't worry. Don't stress. Because when you stress yourself and you're worried, you are going to reduce your breastfeeding. You are going to reduce your breast milk supply. So just relax. Start complementary feeding. Keep breastfeeding, and let's check your baby's weight again in another 1 month and see how it goes. So don't worry yourself, but make sure your baby is well. There's no other health issues. There's no need to worry. Okay, 7. So we just take all the remaining few
Yes.
questions and we round up. I don't think I have any more questions on Instagram. Instagram people are very
Okay.
quiet today.
Okay. Lillian Onyechi Odom, she says, is it bad to use breast pump when your breast is very full?
It's not bad though. It's actually the right thing to do. You could actually express your breast milk and store. So this is what you should be doing. So when you, so especially for those of you who are going to go to work, and maybe your governor is not yet giving you 6 months maternity leave, and you're like, how am I going to do exclusive breastfeeding? When you are finished, when you are feeding your baby on one breast, you can be expressing the other breast. You can do it with your hands, you can do it with your breast pump. It doesn't matter. And breast pump doesn't give breast cancer. Somebody has asked me that question before. I don't know where that came from. That is absolute nonsense. Breast milk doesn't give you breast cancer. It doesn't give you anything. Use your hand. Use your breast pump. I found that the electric breast pump are very absolutely beautiful, because they just take the whole thing from you, and but the hand and the manual pump are more stress. Actually, the hand is the best, to be honest, but you have to know the technique. There's a C technique. You have to put your hand where the what we call the milk sinuses are, so that when you press on it, you see the milk gushing out like a tap. That is the right place. If you don't press that way, the milk is not in that, the real breast, what people call breast, which is the fatty part, upper part. That's not where the milk is. That is just fat. That is what gives women their beauty, people having breasts and all that. The milk is actually under that black thing called the areola. If you see your nipple, the nipple is in the front. After the nipple in the front, there's some black parts just beneath the after the nipple. That is where the milk is. That is where your baby's mouth should be. I guess my colleagues coming later in the week will talk about all the breastfeeding. They are going to demonstrate for you, because I didn't even have time to go down. My own part is just to tell you why it's important for you to breastfeed. I didn't go into how to breastfeed properly, because that is another major reason why mothers get frustrated with breastfeeding. You're not doing it right, and nobody is teaching you how to do it. It is not something you just do. It's an art. You have to learn how to breastfeed. That's the truth. You have to learn how to breastfeed. There's a position for breastfeeding. There's how to put the nipple and the areola into the mouth of the baby. Most mothers give the nipple into the mouth. You're not going to breastfeed successfully that way, because there's nothing in the nipple. And when the baby bites on your nipple and nothing comes out, the baby gets frustrated and bites you the more. Then you have pain. Baby is frustrated, mother is in pain, then everybody gets upset, and then no more breastfeeding. Your baby needs to be sucking on what we call the areola, which is a black part beyond your nipple. So when you put your baby's mouth, don't let the baby quickly grab the nipple. Most of them just quickly grab and they grab the nipple. Open their mouth wide and make sure the nipple and the areola, everything goes into their mouth. You must see only very little of that areola out. If you are breastfeeding and you can see the whole of that black part outside, your baby is not properly attached to the breast, and your baby is not sucking. Your baby is going to be getting frustrated, and that's why most of you have nipple wounds, nipple ulcers, poor attachment of the baby to the breast. So you need to make sure that the nipple and the areola enter into the mouth, and then when the baby press on that areola, the milk is gushing like this. So the baby is really very happy. And you're also happy because you will not feel no pain. Breastfeeding is not painful. It's supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be smooth. So those are the ways. If you are not breastfeeding well, that is why your breast will not get engorged, because the milk is not flowing out. Because baby is sucking on the nipple rather than on the areola. So if you want to express as well, don't be pressing up here. That is fat. There's no milk there. What you need to press on is that black part. So, and it's a technique, it's a pump. So you pump it, you press and let it feel, and press again and let it feel, and press it again. Very simple, but I think it's better demonstrated. But we have those breastfeeding videos on our Facebook group. Watch the videos. Very easy. You will love. You will. I found out that mothers that watch the videos and practice, they do it better. But don't worry, the nurse will be here tomorrow. If anybody see you guys are gonna, don't worry. If you leave me, I'll talk all day.
Okay. Obianuju Onoya says, can a mother who deliver through CS breastfeed the baby immediately, or is there
Yes.
a stipulated time of breastfeeding?
No, you can breast. I think the mother just told us on Instagram, so she breast. Even when they were suturing her, she was breastfeeding. I had a baby through CS as well, and my baby was with me, and I was breastfeeding straight away. I mean, most times these days we do CS through what we call spinal. Not that when you are awake, when you are doing your CS, you can hear, you can see. So if you have a spinal anesthesia, it also helps you to heal faster, even when you are breastfeeding. So as they are taking you out of the theater, they just put your baby by your side. And then your baby starts to breastfeed. There's no story. So CS is not an excuse. The only time you cannot breastfeed is if you have what we call general anesthesia. In other words, you slept. If you slept, of course, we have to wait for you to wake up. There's no story. So, but if you didn't sleep, which is the best option, we don't want you guys sleeping unless your doctor say you have to sleep. The best option is for you to do your CS through your anesthesia on the back, either epidural or spinal, so that you don't sleep. Then you can breastfeed. But if you sleep, when you wake up, ask for your baby and breastfeed your baby. There's 1 hour is what we want. 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour. That's the time. Everybody must breastfeed you for 1 hour. No, 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 no. Coconut water, people. Okay. You want to read that? We can't hear you. You moved yourself.
Sorry. Juwaku Joy. Sorry if I didn't pronounce your name well. I've heard the myth that giving a newborn baby 1 or 2 spoons of coconut water will help the baby's sugar level and will also stop subsequent stomach ache. Ma,
Oh,
what can you say about this?
absolute nonsense. There's no benefit to giving any coconut water. Please don't give your baby coconut water. It doesn't do any good for the baby. And that is not exclusive breastfeeding. No coconut water, nothing, just breast milk only. No glucose water, no coconut water, no formula, no goat milk, no cow milk, nothing. Only the mother's breast milk. I think that is clear enough.
Yes.
So that is a myth. I'm happy you call it a myth. It's a myth, actually. That's
Okay.
good. Yeah. Okay, we have to go now. Let's quickly rush through this.
Okay. After 6 months of EBF, I was told by a friend I have to feed my baby solid food every 2 hours.
It's a lie.
Please,
It's a lie.
doctor,
It's a
must it
lie.
be interval of 2 hours?
Absolute nonsense. Don't listen to your friend when it comes to feeding your baby. Please go to our Facebook group, post this question, because we have a guide section on complementary feeding. Please do that, because some of you do well with breastfeeding, and when it is time for complementary feeding, people like this information they are giving you, they mess it up, and then you start babies that have been doing so beautifully well are having issues. Please don't follow those advice. This is not correct. Always listen to your pediatrician. Go to our Facebook group, go through the complementary feeding section. 2 hours, no, keep breastfeeding your babies, and then you now introduce solid. Usually for the first 2 3 months, your baby just did only 1 or 2 meals of solid, 1 or 2 for a 6 month old. So don't even listen to that advice at
Okay,
all.
ma. We have like 2 questions left. Can
Yeah,
we take them?
finally.
Okay. Does the quality of food eating affect the quality
Hmm.
of breast milk produced? I think we
Mhm.
have answered
Not
that
necessarily.
before.
So babies are perfect parasites. So your body will produce the best breast milk even when you are eating nonsense. In other words, when you are eating, but you are the one that I'm worried about, because your own health will not be good. You may have anemia and you become weak. And you may not understand, but for us, you are as important as the baby. You know, you the mother, you are so important to the pediatrician as a baby, because your baby survival is tied to you. So we don't want anything to happen to you. If anything happens to you, the baby is at risk. So we really want you to eat well. We want you to be healthy as well. So that's why we don't want you to get pregnant so soon. We don't want you no, let me stop because time is gone. So, but eat well. Mm, yes.
We did exclusive breastfeeding. Wasn't easy though. What I learned about with time is I should have expressed my milk those times. The milk was
Yeah.
full. I was always allowing it waste. Lesson learned for next baby.
That's wrong.
Thank you,
We have
ATP.
a whole video on how to express, on how to store your breast milk safely. So you can do that. So please watch that video. Sorry that you didn't have that information. This is why we want all of you to do the breastfeeding course. Watch all the videos by Global Health videos. Very lovely, very good. It will be useful for you. All
Okay,
right.
this is our last question. Ernest, Enobong Ernest, what about a baby that needs to take glucose at birth because of jaundice?
No, the baby does not need to take glucose water. That's the worst thing I've had today. It is actually the glucose water that will make the baby to have jaundice. In other words, the baby that have jaundice can have jaundice because you gave glucose water. That's what we call breastfeeding jaundice. When you see, okay, do I explain that to you? So when you give glucose water, the stool in the baby's tummy, the glucose is just absorbed straight into the blood. That meconium stool that is in the baby's tummy, that black stool that babies pass, they need milk so that the milk will stimulate the intestine to push them out. Now, if you give glucose, the water is absorbed, the glucose is absorbed, the milk, the stool just stay there in the intestine, and then they got broken down and they get reabsorbed back. And part of it is bilirubin, and that is why the baby will have jaundice. So, contrary to what you are saying, let me project your question. It is the other way. No, 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 that's not the question. Where is the question about glucose water? Yes, okay, this is the question.
Um,
So, contrary
yes.
to what you are saying, the baby who has jaundice do not need glucose water. The baby who had jaundice need breast milk. So in fact, it's the glucose water that is causing the jaundice, and that is what most mothers do. That is why we say don't do that. When you give glucose water instead of milk, that baby is likely going to have jaundice, what we call breastfeeding jaundice. So glucose is not the treatment for jaundice. Water is not the treatment for jaundice. Pawpaw water is not the treatment for jaundice. Coconut water is not the treatment for jaundice or colic or anything. What a baby that is having jaundice needs is the mother's breast milk. So that is the truth. So I hope
Okay.
that
Wow. Thank you so,
right.
so much, Dr. Gbemi. It
Yeah,
has
yeah. So
been a very educative one.
yes,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
So if we cannot take your question, please post them on our group wall as a
Mm,
fresh post. It will
mm,
be approved and it will be answered.
mm.
Thank you so much
Sorry,
for joining
let
us
me just
today.
round up. Amira, you can take your anti-malaria even when you are breastfeeding. So that's not true. You can take there's hardly any anti-malaria. You can take the ACT anti-malaria when you are breastfeeding. Don't worry about that. You're fine. Da. When your baby is 6 months, it remains 6 days. Please wait for that 6 days. Don't be in a hurry. Your baby is ready, yes, but wait for the remaining 6 days. All right. So thank you so much, Ifeyiwa. So thank you so much, my Instagram people. Thank you for watching. Just to remind you, it's the breastfeeding week. We're celebrating breastfeeding. We are promoting breastfeeding, and we are saying breast is the best for your baby. So please breastfeed. Don't discourage any mother from breastfeeding. Those of you that are listening to me, you know yourself. You know yourself. You are the anti-breastfeeding people. Please don't discourage any mother from breastfeeding. Encourage every mother to breastfeed. If a mother is having trouble with breastfeeding, please join us on Tuesday and on Friday. We're going to talk about that. But if you need help, ask us, ask your doctors, ask your nurses. the ones that promote breastfeeding, because there are some of them that don't promote breastfeeding. Ask the pediatricians. Pediatricians always promote breastfeeding. So ask us for help. We are here to help you. We are here to support you, because breastfeeding and protecting breastfeeding is a shared responsibility. Always have it at the back of your mind that by, let me project that banner from WHO again, that by promoting breastfeeding, by breastfeeding, we will be saving 820,000 children every year. You can imagine 820,000 children not dying every year just because of breastfeeding. That's amazing. And that is what ATP is all
Yes.
about. We don't want any child to die. And breastfeeding is one way of making sure at least close to 1 million children do not die every year. So please join us by making sure you tell everybody, tell your neighbor to breastfeed. When they are breastfeeding, don't discourage them. If they need help, tell them where to go for help. Tell them to come to ATP. Tell them to go to the pediatrician. We are going to support them. So join us tomorrow. One of our nurses will be here to talk about the myths. Some of the myths that some of you have talked about today, she will address them. And also on Friday, the difficulties with breastfeeding and how to overcome it. One of our lactation experts will be here. And if you want to join our breastfeeding quiz, please join us on Thursday. And please sign the petition. So if your governor is not yet approving 6 months maternity leave, so that mothers can exclusively breastfeed their babies, you need to sign. I have petitioned my governor, the Ogun State governor, and I've told him he needs to make breastfeeding, he needs to make 6 months maternity leave with full pay available for working mothers. It's done in Lagos, it's done in Ekiti, it's done in Kaduna. So there's no reason why any other state in Nigeria cannot do it. And I know that they do it because they realize the importance, and we cannot be paying lip service to saying we don't want our children dying. 1 million children dying every year in Nigeria is absolute disgrace. We need to save our children. No child should die from preventable causes, and that is why we must protect breastfeeding. That's why we must promote breastfeeding, and that's why you need to sign that petition. So thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Oh.
Bye for now.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Yeah, post your question on our Facebook group. We will answer them. Thank you. Our time is gone. Bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.